Hey guys, what's going on? I'm doing an update on Raging Bull, Ben Sturgill, LottoX. So this is a service I've been talking about recently. I joined it probably 3 weeks ago now, and I wrote this article and I'm updating it pretty much every week now. At least I'm trying to. So I'll leave a link in the description. You can go and check out this article. It has all the different track records, so everything I've done, including the contracts and everything like that, and kind of an overview of what this service actually is. I'm not going to go through it all because you guys have probably already seen my previous videos. If you haven't, they're actually in this article down here somewhere. Let's see, yeah, here. So this was week 1. So a very, very brief overview for people that have no idea what LottoX is. It's run by Ben Sturgill, and on Thursdays at 12:30 Eastern time, he releases 5 or 6 different picks, stock picks. Well, actually they're stocks, but he plays the options on them. So the options will expire the next day. He calls them 0 DTE, but really they're 1 DTE, right? 1 day to expiration. But he calls them 0 DTE. Not really sure why there's this confusion, but there is. So if you hear me talking about 0 DTE, it's actually 1 DTE. So they're bought on the Thursday and then they expire the very next day. So these things are volatile, like really, really volatile, which makes it really fun and exciting. But it also makes it quite hard. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. This article, I've put a background on who Ben Sturgill is. He works for Raging Bull. He's a great trader from what I can see. There is only one service that I'm doing better on at the moment, and that's Raging Bull Bullseye Trades. So I'll leave a link to the Bullseye Trades article where I've put the whole of the last year, so 2022. I've put all the track records, all the contracts, so you can go through and see for yourself if that would be a service that's worth the $95 they're asking. The answer is yes, it definitely is. It's one of my favorite services of all time. Anyway, the idea with the 0 DTE LottoX picks is that the hope is it's boom or bust, right? So it's a bit like angel investing, where a lot of the ones that you pick will be duds and they'll go to 0. So angel investors or venture capitalists will invest in, say, 9 or 10 companies, and 8 of those companies will go to 0 and never make a penny, and they'll lose their entire investment on it. And then 1 or 2 out of that 10 will 1000x, and they'll make all their profits, which make the losses from the losers look like peanuts, right? So that's kind of the marketing, at least, or the advertising behind 0 DTE LottoX picks. And you'll see pictures like this from their marketing material, which shows some of the better ones. NVDA, 1400% gain. So this was on the Thursday, and then it spiked from $1 to $15 overnight on the Friday. So this is only my second or third week taking these trades, I think third week, and I've never seen one do this yet. So it's pretty important. You say this can happen, but so far in my experience it hasn't happened for me. So it's important to remember that when you see things like this is like the best case scenario. And so this is what we're hoping for, and it hasn't happened yet. The difficulty is when you're taking these trades, you've got to be able to get to the point where you actually hit one of these without giving up. And that is a bit more difficult than you might think, although it's not impossible. And hopefully in this video I'm going to kind of explain my thought process and how I'm managing these positions in order to try and hit something like this, but without sustaining weeks of losses, without any winners. So the 12:30 Eastern, Ben releases 5 or 6 different option trades with the idea that you cash out when they start to move. So these were the ones that I did before, week 1. Watch that video. Week 2, there's a video here, and right now we're doing week 3, which is the video I'm working on right now. So here were the picks for this week. So it's Friday night, it just finished the week trading, and these were the trades. So NVDA, Apple, Amazon, PayPal, Riot and Shop, all long, so all calls basically. Here are the entry prices that I got, and here were the exit prices that I got. Now, this is a big thing to realize, is your entries and exits can be vastly different from somebody else's. So once I'd bought these, at one point they were all green, and I should have got out because they were all green. Instead, I took profits and started to trim off these 3 on the same day, so the Thursday afternoon. Unfortunately, the market went down horribly on the Friday morning, and I was holding these three, PayPal, Riot, and Shop. Shop in particular was a dud. So let me show you some of the charts. So we go to, should be 2-day, 10 minutes. So this is Friday. Let me zoom in. So this is SPY on Thursday when the picks came out. So the picks came out around this time. So you can see we had a bit of dip in the market and then a bit of a nice rally, a surprising rally into the close. I think it took a lot of people by surprise. And at this point here, all the picks were green, but they weren't very green for me. So I held those three. I trimmed the first three off because I wanted to take those gains, with the fear that something like this might happen the next day, today, when we had this massive sell-off. And of course, as soon as that happens with these 0 DTE plays, they all go to zero. So the way and I've been doing this for 3 weeks now, the way I've been trying to do it is to kind of put myself in a position where I'm not going to lose my entire portfolio of stocks on this. So to put it into perspective, if you took one contract on each one of these, you're talking like $100 average, say, for each. So that would be 100, 200, 3, 4. You're talking like $400 or $500 if you just took one contract on each one of these. And if you'd held them all overnight, they'd have all gone to zero by this afternoon. So in order to avoid that, it's good to start trimming as soon as you get some spikes, right? So I got out of NVDA and locked in 27% right away. Apple was up a lot more than this. I should have taken it when it was higher, but I held off. Managed to get it green. So I'd taken half of my profits before the Friday came along and had this nasty sell-off. Now I got out some of the other ones on the spike, like in the morning spike here, but they were still down significantly from here. Especially something like, let's see which one it was. Let's just go through them and see. So NVDA, I'm really glad I took NVDA because it went horribly down right at the thing. So you've got to, I think with these positions, you've got to trade defensively in my opinion. So you need to, it's a fine juggling act. You've got to hold them long enough to see if you're going to get that 1,000% winner or 100% or 200% winner. But you've got to realize and be very aware of that these all go to zero the next day. The chances of them all going to zero, not all of them, but a portion of them going to zero is actually quite high. Because it's like that angel investing analogy where 8 out of 10 will go to zero, 2 will fly to the moon. So this idea of at least trimming profits at 20, 30, 40%, or at least reducing overnight risk to some degree is pretty important, so that you don't end up getting hit week after week if they fail. And it's not impossible for 2 or 3 weeks to go by where they all gap down overnight, right? It's not very likely, and you'd hope it wouldn't happen, but it's possible. So I think from what I can see, I've been doing all right compared to other people with this. I don't know if my way is the best way, but the week before, I ended up with a small overall profit. So on the portfolio of stocks, I got 14% net profit on them. So you can see this sort of same thing happened here. But if you'd held all these overnight, you'd have been hit pretty hard. So this week, the same thing. I still had some overnight exposure. I still got hit, but if some of these had spiked, I'd have been pretty green, So for me, the LottoX has proven pretty tricky to play. It takes a bit of juggling. It takes a little bit of am I prepared to hold this? Because if it goes to zero, am I okay with that? Kind of juggling the positions. But the ground rules for me are basically if something spikes 20, 30, 40%, at least sell some of it, right? Get some profits on the table. And then, kind of depends on your risk reward. Maybe you're okay having 2 or 3 weeks where these all go to zero, and then holding them in the 3rd week or 4th week, they all go 100%, or some of them go 100, 200%, and you make it all back. I don't think that's the best way to play it, in my opinion, though. I think treating them as a basket of stocks, that if they all pop 10, 20%, start trimming them off and try to get out for an overall profit. So, I guess that's what I have to say about LottoX. I do love it. It's fun. But it's also a little stressful as well, because these things, one minute they'll be down 20%, next minute they'll be up 20%. So the way around that is you just play well within your comfort zone, though. Ideally, with money you can totally afford to lose and not care about. At the same time, trying to juggle these things so you actually get out with profit. Each one of these had significant chance to get out for green, but unfortunately you can't really play it optimally. So I'm okay though. So these losses though were about minus 15% on about the same position or portfolio monetary value as these ones were. So I'm about break even over the last 2 weeks. But if I hadn't played it like this, I'd be down a lot, right? I'd have lost almost all of these positions and almost all of these positions. So I think for you guys that already have it, like LottoX, thinking of it less as an overnight gamble and more of like a juggling risk management type of thing, they can be fun with tiny positions. Like, it's probably going to help you if you're going to continue to play these. It's kind of, I mean, think about it this way. If you were to hold all these to expiration and it goes against you, which can happen, and it does happen, it did happen this week, then you're going to lose, say, $500 in all of this, right? You've got one contract in each. Then the next week you lose all of these. That's another $500. That's not a fun drawdown if that's your position sizes, right? Because then the next week you have to somehow make that $1,000 back, pretty quickly. So you can start to see how you want to be trimming. You don't want to be going boom or bust here, and that's not what you want to do, in my opinion. You want to trim for profits. And preferably, if these are all nicely green, say you're 20%, 10, 30%, 40% plus, get out and don't risk it overnight, or leave one contract on each so that you do get that massive boost if one of these do go to the moon. But overall, I'm enjoying the service. I'm just I was a little bit grumpy today about it, not because I don't think it's a good service, because let's face it, none of us really knew that the market was going to do what it did today, which is just really straight down. So we had this gap up and I was like, things are going good, and then just straight down. So it's not that the picks are bad, it's just that the market is just totally bipolar at the moment. So I'm not particularly saying these picks weren't good or anything. There was good reasoning, and they do a good job of explaining what the reasons were behind them. So anyway, that's where it's at. So I am neutral now, roughly break even on my last 2 weeks of trading LottoX. I don't think, so I didn't take these trades. These were just put in when I started documenting them to try and keep a track record. I started trading them here, week 2. So I'm going to continue to do this. I think it's really important that, when you're reviewing these services, if you can, to go through and put if you don't trade it, then at least put what the trades were. And if you are trading them, to put every single trade that you do for complete transparency and so people can make up their own minds. So hopefully that's helpful. I love this service. It's a lot of fun. I look forward to setting aside that hour or half an hour to buy these every Thursday. It's fun. Just remember the risk involved is extremely high. The rewards can be high, but it's too early for me testing this yet to tell you whether these things ever really boom 100, 200, 300, 1,000%. Obviously they will eventually, but does that happen one every 10 times? Does it happen one every 3 times? We don't know yet. So stay tuned for more updates every week on this service, and I'll talk to you guys soon.